Hello, my name is Steve Capper. Now many of you know me from attending my pre-sales classes. This small YouTube video, which I hope goes for only 9.5 minutes, will be serving as a reminder for those people that have attended the class, but also as a small introduction for people who have not met me or have not a full understanding of some of the concepts of the class. So let's just start by thinking about some of the major things that we do on the class. And the first thing is that we concentrate on the soft skills for pre-sales people. Because this class is all about pre-sales people, their role, their responsibility, and the way they need to have process and methodology throughout the whole of the sales cycle. So the first concept that I'd like to talk about from a point of view of soft skills is the 2 seconds of silence. So when the customer is asking you a question, you listen, never override, and then wait 2 seconds after they finish talking so that they continue talking. Second major point in soft skills is that we never answer a question for more than 42 seconds and then we decide to play tennis. In other words, to throw a question back at the customer. Never answer a question for more than 42 seconds or the customer begins to lose interest. In any meeting, the fourth skill, in any meeting, it's imperative that the customer talks more than we do. So utilizing the 42 seconds, playing tennis, and getting the customer to do the talking is some of the major things that we need to remember as far as our soft skills are concerned. We also have to remember some of the soft skills regarding answering questions. Listen to the question, wait 2 seconds, and then respond. For example, I remember many of us on the class discussed the question if the customer said, "What are the limitations of your systems?" Mr. Customer, we don't actually understand what you mean by limitations. Our systems don't make coffee in the morning, that's a limitation. Another way of answering questions. Customer says, "I understand you have problems in your implementation of your solution." First thing, immediately say, "Mr. Customer, oh no, why do you think that?" It's very important not to answer a question with the wrong answer, but try and get more and more information from the customer. Now, let's begin to look at the actual concept of the pre-sales cycle. The pre-sales cycle is what I call the role of the pre-sales person from the very first time there's an engagement from a salesperson. So the very first time a salesperson says, "We need to go and see, China Light and Power next week," all the way through the concept of that meeting, the architecting the solution, the delivery of the solution, and making that customer into a reference. So let's look at the first stage of that sales cycle, and that is the qualification of the salespeople. It's imperative that we ensure that we ask the salesperson as many questions as possible to ensure, firstly, that we're the right resource, and secondly, that we can do a fantastic job for that salesperson because we now know a lot more about the visit. In many ways, if the salesperson doesn't know enough about the client, as we talk on the class, we begin to say, "Yes, Mr. Salesperson, yes, Ms. Salesperson, we can go on a call as long as you find out who we're going to see and as long as we're getting to see some senior people." Because the whole concept that we have in my class relates to the fact that we want to see the customer, talk to the customer, discover information about the customer and their problems and their required business impact before we do a presentation. So we begin to move forward now as far as the pre-sales sales cycle, and we've had a meeting with the salesperson, we've now had an understanding, and now we do discovery planning so that we can get to have a discovery meeting with the customer. Discovery meeting is where we ask questions, keep quiet, and listen to the customer. Many of you will remember all of the process we have on the class. Very is one of them, and then the role, the focus, the problems, always looking for the pain of the customer, but much more importantly is what is the business impact of the customer. So we ask what questions, what's the problem, why the problem, and what's the business impact of the problem. And all of these are designed to get us to a stage where we're back in the office and architecting a solution. So in architecting a solution, we begin to understand the customer's requirements. We begin to align our solution with the customer's problems and, more importantly, the business impact of the customer is requiring. So let's move forward to the required presentation of what I call the business impact solution. The business impact solution is the presentation of the way that we will solve and deliver business impact to them. And remember some of the techniques that I spoke about. Remember trying to get Mr. Salesman to get the senior members of the customer there for the first 18 minutes only. Remember the concept of the yellow card. Remember the concepts of how to pass the ball. Remember that our job is to deliver a customer-focused presentation, not a vendor presentation. Not being like every other vendor in the marketplace talking about their wonderful product. It's talking about the way the customer's problem will be solved by our solution. It's a major, major factor. I'd also now like to remind you of some of the other major factors we've spoken about in the class. Remember qualifying your time. Your time is very valuable, and so that's why we have questions of the salespeople, questions of the customer, because when pre-sales people get involved, things happen. Customers walk out of a presentation, out of a customer-oriented presentation, wowed, absolutely wowed by the way we deliver our message, and more importantly, the content of the message and the way that's focused on the needs of the customer. Remember, I want you to do less presentations, but more business impact solutions. Major, major concepts that we've spoken about. So other things to just finally finish off today, we remind you that pre-sales is the best job in the world. And remember that. Remind you that to look at the website of www.remindmesteve.com. You should have the password and user ID for that. If not, send me an email. So let's finish this small video with one or two last remaining points. Qualify your time. Understand the customer before you can expect the customer to understand and trust you and your organization. Think about yourselves in their feet. Present customer-oriented solutions. Never talk while the customer's talking. Listen, the 2 seconds of silence, and have a great time as a pre-sales person. I'd like to thank all of you very much for watching this small video, and if you need to contact me, please do so. My email address is scapper, S-C-A-P-P-E-R @hotmail.com, and I look forward to seeing you all in the future, and I hope this small YouTube video has been helpful to you to remind yourselves of the major factors in dealing with the customers and your team working friends. Thank you very much. Goodbye.